Statements like this are not about improvement, they're about control. All of them are designed to get you to question the reality of what happened or your perception of what happened. It's designed. So you've heard it before. I'm just giving you feedback. But what if this feedback leaves you doubting yourself, your value, your sanity, and then the actual events of what happened? Today, we're pulling back what manipulative feedback actually is, which isn't feedback at all, is gaslighting. What does real feedback actually look like? Let's be clear. Real feedback helps you to grow, change. It helps everybody involved to be better. It's not just correction or, in some severe cases, attacking. Real feedback has three key components. One is that it's very specific. Your presentation didn't have enough data in it. It's not good or bad. It's just the fact of what's required. It didn't meet the requirements. We don't have to judge your whole sense of self or personality along with it. Real feedback is also actionable. One of my pet peeves is to receive all this feedback and then you're like, okay, so what's the next step? What do I do? Actionable feedback will say, add 2 or 3 user insights. My expectations is X, Y, and Z, or let's collaborate together. I've seen and heard and been in situations where the person giving feedback will say, well, what do you think we should do? There's an Albert Einstein quote, and I reference it often in my other social platforms, which is you cannot solve problems at the same mindset or with the same mindset that you created them. So if I'm doing something that needs a little bit of correction, work with me to bring about a solution. I think it's super lazy, and that's gaslighting within itself to just say, well, what do you think we should do? Heck, I don't know. If I'm making mistakes, help me to be better. Forgive my tangent, but ultimately, that's the second component of what real feedback is. It is actionable. And the last component is that it is respectful. You're doing great. This is just a tweak. It's that saying of focusing on the problem, attacking the problem, and not attacking the person. I'm still a human being with worth, and I am going to make mistakes. Give me grace to do that. Real feedback focuses on the work and not your worth. It's important to note in this discussion that there is different kinds of feedback. It's more than just giving correction to someone, but you can give appreciation and just focus on building up your employee or building up someone. That is a type of feedback to point out the good that someone is doing. That's called appreciative inquiry. Coaching is also a form of feedback because you're getting in the boat with that person. Well, that's how I do it as an empathetic person, to get to the other side. But it's partnership, it's working together to move the needle, to close the gap, to walk together. It's power in numbers to go from good to great, from A to B. And then there's evaluating someone's work. That's when you normally see types of correction. But correction is not the only form of feedback, and definitely as leaders is not the only type of feedback that you should be using. Now, how does feedback turn into gaslighting? Now, this is where things can get a little toxic. When feedback becomes a tool of manipulation, it might sound a little something like this. You're overreacting. Everyone else understood me just fine. Or, I never said that. You must have misunderstood. Or, if you were really committed, then this wouldn't be a problem. I don't know about you, but all of those burn my butt. These aren't critiques. These are mind games. Tell me what the goal or what the outcome is of those 3 examples that I just gave you. What is the next step after that? I don't know. And that person didn't know either when they told you. Statements like this are not about improvement, they're about control. All of them are designed to get you to question the reality of what happened or your perception of what happened. It's designed to break you down so you can then get in the cycle and create more neural pathways of questioning reality. So here's a few signs to let you know that you are no longer having a conversation about feedback, but now you are being thrown into the dust of gaslighting. For one, it makes you question your memory. It makes you question whether the conversation that was had or the incident in question happened the way that you saw it or heard it, or experienced it. So now you're having conversations with you and you about what happens. It's this ball of confusion that they've thrown at you. You can also tell it's gaslighting if it targets your character and not the behavior or actions in question. Hearing things like, oh, you're just too sensitive, as many empathetic people have heard before, is definitely a sign. My feelings and me being sensitive, what does that have to do with the issue on hand? Who I am is okay. Let's deal with what we can fix and correct so we can all move forward greatly. But you don't get to question me and how I feel or whatever, how I show up, unless it is attacking, harming, or hurting other people. Another sign is if what you're getting is vague and unfixable. So, like I said beforehand, giving a specific detail with some actions, it points you somewhere, it grounds you somewhere. But if you say things like, you're not meeting expectations, okay, one expectation, all of the expectations. Who set these expectations? More questions, more confusion. And that kind of goes hand in hand with, okay, now you're targeting my character. Let's get to the nitty gritty of things. Like, what is the thing that I can correct or fix, which you can evaluate me on, not essentially your feelings about stuff. So you are in vague land. And so now that's taking me in vague land. And now we're just here together with no solution. It's a waste of time and energy. Gaslighting conversations will also contradict past positive feedback. So if yesterday, last week, last year, I was awesome, I was great, I was progressive, I was unique, and now all of a sudden I'm the total antithesis of that, definitely a sign of gaslighting. What happened to all of these great things? Are you telling me I just gave up and was like, oh well, I don't care. Here I am, whatever. That's a pretty big swing to go from super awesome to super awful. More times than not, they can't identify or pinpoint the timeline of going from awful to awesome. And then the last line that I'll go over is that this conversation is now isolating you. So it's conversations such as, will other people agree with me? And I get HIPAA laws and protecting those kinds of things in the workplace. But let's be real. If you can't say a manager or director, you can still call out those things. You can't give specifics. You are basically trying to say, the group is over here and doing well and I'm down here. So now you're creating separation where I don't know who to trust and I'm looking at everybody crazy. That's, by the way, leaders, never helpful to do that unless, again, you've got proof, documented things of harm, hurt, distraction, or whatever it is. But just to say, well, everybody feels that way. No, nope, 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 nope. Miss me with that. That is not helpful. It's not actionable. It's not specific, and it's not respectful. Not that this matters, but why do they do this? Why would a boss or a colleague gaslight you as opposed to giving honest feedback? Again, it doesn't really matter because it's not your responsibility for other people's bad behavior. But if it gives you any modicum of peace and understanding, then maybe it's helpful for you to know. For some people, they have fragile egos and they want to protect that ego. And so they do it by throwing this cloud of smoke that leaves you in confusion and where they can walk away unscathed, which also means that they deflect accountability. So, however, they can skirt around something being their fault and can put it on someone else and watch them spin around with it, they will do that, unfortunately. And sadly, I hate to say this, but for some people, it keeps you under their control. And I'm not going to throw around the word narcissist because the YouTubes have thrown it around a lot, but it is true that it is a tool that they use. So if they've just thrown up all over you to the point where you're trying to figure out, oh gosh, well, what did I do? I mean, now you're spinning and in a tizzy, and they get to walk away scot free. For those who struggle with control and all of that, yeah, sometimes that will happen. It I think it's so insulting. And honestly, it's sabotage. It's sabotage for everyone involved. For you, they are self-sabotaging, and then they're sabotaging the company because they're using manipulation as a form of professional development, which is such a misuse of that. Speaking as a person that is in this space of training and leadership development, if there's nothing that will burn down a relationship or a company faster than emotional manipulation and gaslighting. So, my professional friend, if you have been on the receiving end of gaslighting, listen closely. You are not too sensitive. You are not imagining things, and you don't have to shrink yourself to survive somewhere. If you are even having those kinds of thoughts, I'm quick to tell someone you need to find somewhere else to be planted at, because unless there's a hard conversation or behavioral change, it's not going to get better. To my leaders, it's time to stop calling conversations like this feedback and call a thing, which is gaslighting. And you need to check yourself if that is a tool that you are using in your toolbox. And for those who are on the receiving end on it, make it a priority to protect your sanity and to protect your peace. Toxic workplaces and toxic leadership will not change until we start to call stuff out and do something about it. Well, thanks for joining me. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell to be notified when the next tidbit of awesome feedback or another tool for your toolkit is released. And I will see you in the next video.